morning. Today I'm going to present to you the Christiana in service on the Shurley Grammar that we use in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. My name is Sherry Harrison, and I have been the Grammar and Writing Department head at CHA since the beginning, and I have been very pleased to see the results that this method brings to the students and how they're able to grasp difficult concepts of grammar in a very fun and engaging way. So I hope that you learn to appreciate it as much as I have and the tutors here at CHA have. And so today we're going to have a few goals that we're going to cover. The first goal is that I'm going to introduce to you the Shurley Parent Help Booklet, which looks like this in hard copy form. But you will be receiving a file of it online to go through while you watch this in-service. There are levels for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. We use the level 3 and 4 for 3rd and 4th, but we use level 6 for 5th grade because we have found over the years that our 4th graders are ready to move on to the material in level 6. Level 5 is very repetitive. So we use 3, 4, and 6 levels. For this in-service, you will need to open the file that you received by email for level 3. We're going to use that Parent Help Booklet, which will be fine for all of the levels because they all kind of go back to foundational concepts. So you will want to access Parent Booklet level 3 for this presentation, and you will also receive a scan of another workbook page that we will look at later today as well. So you'll need to have those things handy for this in-service presentation. Let's open in prayer before we continue. Heavenly Father, I thank you for these parents that have joined us, that have students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and I pray that you would help me to be a clear communicator and just impart to them understanding so that they can be a good partner with the grammar tutor and that they can help their children at home to succeed. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Okay, so we are also going to be looking at the Shurley CDs that you had on your book list for purchase. They look like this. And this is the level 3 CD. Today we're actually going to use the level 4 CD. It's kind of right in the middle. It kind of has some middle ground concepts on it. So we will be using that for reference today. So these are the Shurley CDs. We will be introduced to a few jingles, which is a hallmark concept in the Shurley program, and also introduced to the Shurley question and answer flow, which is the part of the program that often gives the greatest trouble to parents at home. And so I'm hoping to help you out with that so that you'll feel more comfortable when you're doing homework with your child. All right, so we're going to start off with an overview of the Parent Help Booklet. So if you will open your file, print it out if you need to, and just a reminder, it does not look like this. The file starts with page 1. At the top it says, Dear Parents, and then there's a paragraph that says, Welcome to the Shurley Method. So we're going to look at that first, page 1. You'll see that page 1 has some bolded sections, kind of 1/3 of the way down. There's an introduction section in the booklet that we will go over briefly. There's a jingles section that introduces the jingles to the students. The question and answer flow section, which we will spend most of our time on. And then there's a practiced and improved sentence section. And finally, a writing section, which we will not be interested in because at CHA we use a different writing program than the Shurley method. So we will be focused on the jingles and the question and answer flow for most of our time. Okay, so if you will turn to page 2, this is part of the introduction section, and for the most part this section is self-explanatory, so I'm not really going to take a lot of time here. You'll be interested to read under page 2 why the Shurley method, which gives the rationale and the reasons why this is such a good program. I will say that this is an excellent program for appealing to your visual, kinesthetic, and auditory learner. It focuses on all learning styles and therefore is usually successful for all the students that attend the classes. On page 3, we have a section about 1/3 of the way down called Jingles, and I'm just going to read that short paragraph with you. It says, under Jingles, the first element of the Shurley method is the use of jingles. Students begin learning the parts of speech by reciting definitions in jingle form. These rhythmic definitions are chanted or sung by the class to help them initially remember the role of each part of speech. So these are a great learning tool. They're a lot of fun. The students will recite them at home. So we will go over jingles in more detail shortly. The next section down in the introduction section is the question and answer flow. And the question and answer flow, the first paragraph reads, "In the question and answer flow, an oral series of questions and answers determines the role each word plays in the sentence being analyzed. This is a classroom activity in which the teacher either leads or supervises while a student leads. In this way, students are able to completely analyze the sentence. The question and answer flow includes questions for every word in the sentence. The difficulty level increases by grade level during the course of the year." Okay, so in below that paragraph, you'll see a box that demonstrates the question and answer flow. I'm going to show you how they did that on the board. So we'll turn our attention here up to the board, and we'll see that the sentence that you see in the box is written up here on the board. I'm going to classify it, and then later on we'll come back and explain the rationale behind the way this happened. Okay, so the class would read it together. "The 2 firemen worked yesterday." Who worked yesterday? Firemen, subject noun. What is being said about firemen? Firemen worked, verb. Worked when? Yesterday, adverb. How many firemen? 2, adjective. The article adjective. Subject, noun, verb, pattern 1, check. Period, statement, declarative sentence. Go back to the verb, divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. So if your head is spinning, fear not, I will show you how to tackle this, and the students do not learn all of that at once, so there's no need to be concerned. But that's the basic idea of a question and answer flow for identifying parts of speech in a sentence. So now if you will turn to page 4 in your parent help booklet, the next section that will be covered is sentence building, particularly practice and improve sentences, where the students are given these types of labels and they have to place a word under them. So they don't do that for a while. They have some time before they get to that stage where they're learning these things before they have to apply them. Then we come down to the next 2 sections on page 4, the writing process and paragraph construction, and we're going to skip over those. Although there are times when the grammar writing tutors will refer to some Shurley writing ideas, but for the most part, we stick with the grammar concepts and leave excellence in writing for our writing program. At the bottom of page 4, we have a section called Shurley Method Patterns, and that is important. There are 3 patterns that are covered in grade 3. You can see them listed here. Subject, noun, verb is pattern 1. Subject, noun, verb, transitive, direct object is pattern 2. And subject, noun, verb, transitive, indirect object, direct object is pattern 3. They spend a very long time in pattern 1 where they learn the pattern and they learn all the modifiers that can be put around the subject and a verb. So, but those are the goals for the year as far as sentence patterns, which is the main frame of the sentence. In later grades, they add more patterns to that. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at going back to the jingle section and take a more detailed look. So you will find the CD that you purchased to be very helpful in this regard. When you first listen to your Shurley CD, you will hear a brief intro in which the recorder says the following.
Welcome to the Shurley method for level 4. This recording contains the question and answer flows only for the groups of sentences that are used to introduce each new grammar concept. This recording also contains the Shurley method jingles for level 4. Now we will begin the level 4 question and answer flows for unit 1.
Okay, so the next part of the CD is, we're going to skip over that for now, and we're going to go to the jingle section. So if you look at the back of your CD, there are tracks. That was track 1, and it's the introduction section. So then tracks 2 through 10 actually does a lot of this with you from a paper that you would have. And then track 11 picks up with the first jingle. So we're going to take a look at the jingles first. I've selected 3 of the many that you see on here to look at today. So the first one we're going to listen to is the sentence jingle. And at this point, we're going to cut the tape over to a paper so that you can view that while you're listening to the jingles. The first jingle that we're going to listen to is the sentence jingle, which is the first jingle on your page. And this is track 11 on our CD player.
Now Shurley method jingles. The sentence jingle. A sentence is complete when 5 simple rules it meets. It has a subject, and a verb. It makes sense with every word. Add a capital letter, and an end mark. Now we're finished, and aren't we smart? Now our sentence has all its parts. Remember, subject, verb, complete sense. Capital letter and an end mark too. That's what a sentence is all about.
Okay, now we're going to skip down the page and listen to jingle 3B, one of the verb jingles.
The verb jingle. A verb. What is a verb? Haven't you heard there are 2 kinds of verbs, the action verb and the linking verb. The action verb shows a state of action like stand and sit and smile. The action verb is always doing because it tells what the subject does. We stand, we sit, we smile. The linking verb is a state of being like am, is, are, was, and were, looks, becomes, grows, and feels. A linking verb shows no action because it tells what the subject is. He is a clown. He looks funny.
And we will move on to the adverb jingle.
The adverb jingle. An adverb modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb. An adverb asks how, when, where. To find an adverb, go, ask, get. Where do I go to a verb, adjective, or another adverb? What do I ask? How, when, where. What do I get? An adverb. That's what.
Okay, so that is just a sample of some of the jingles from level 3, and you will find many more listed here for you and on the CD for you to learn. I will say that the tutors often embellish these a little bit. Sometimes they make them more syncopated, sometimes they add motions, and your child will inform you and when they practice them at home. They are always recited in class, not every one of them, but maybe 2 or 3 per day, and the intention is to memorize them, so they will be assigned for homework for them to practice at home. So if you see on your homework assignment sheet, recite these jingles, you will basically just have your child read off the page and recite it, trying to memorize it as much as possible. There will be times when the tutor will ask for a memory recall at certain times of the year, whether it be in class or at home, where they are doing it without looking at the paper. It's really important that they memorize these jingles. I'm an 8th grade tutor, and I still reference the concepts in those jingles and remind the students that had been in the Shurley program of what they learned. So they are very helpful for many years. And as you know, songs and things that you chant stay with you for a long time, so that's why they're so helpful. Okay, your child's grammar and writing binder will have a jingle section, so you will be instructed to take apart your student's workbook, which looks something like this. This is the level 4 workbook that you've purchased, and you will be taking it apart. In the back there is a jingle section and a grammar reference section, so you will be asked to take the jingle section out and put it into the jingle part of the binder so that the student has it in class as well as at home. And the grammar references are very important concepts that the tutor has covered that you will be able to look at as well to help with worksheet skills that they come home with each day. Also, the jingles in grades 3, 4, and 5 are very similar. There are some changes, but they build logically from 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So you'll find that once they learn them, they just keep remembering them through the years. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to the question and answer flow, which is starts on page 7. So if you would please turn to page 7. Actually, it doesn't start there, but there's an important concept there that we need to look at. So page 7 includes a very small box at the bottom amidst all the jingles, but it's actually not a jingle. It has to do with the question and answer flow. It's called Shurley method abbreviations. So you'll see a whole lot of labels with what the abbreviation stands for. I have listed some of them on the board, and these are the ones that we're going to be using when we label our sentences. So we'll just go over them. D stands for declarative sentence. INT is for interrogative sentence. E is exclamatory. IMP is for imperative sentence. SN is for subject noun. V, verb. ADJ, adjective. ADV, adverb. A, article adjective. P, preposition. And OP, object of the preposition. So those are the abbreviations that we will cover today, and you'll find that the other ones you will pick up quite easily when your student gets to the point where they are learning those. So that's a good reference for you to use during homework time. If you look at page 8, there is a rather intimidating table there called the Question and Answer Flow Guide, number 1 for Pattern 1 sentences. So I'm just going to reference it for you, but we're not going to work through it because your student will not start with something that complicated, so why should you? I'm going to start you off easily so that you can follow along. And later on, when you go back and look at that more complicated series of questions and answers, it will make more sense. So for now, let's look over at page 9. And page 9 shows you that the first 2 sentences, and actually it's a few more than that your students will have, are 2-word sentences. So very simple way to start, and they're introducing the subject, noun, and verb. So these 2 concepts. Now Brenda Shurley, she's the author of this program, she has decided to call the subject of the sentence the subject noun. Many grammar programs just list it as the subject, but she has listed it as a subject noun, and that's because she likes to identify lots of noun jobs over the course of the time of the program, and the subject is one of those. So she likes to link that to that it is a noun, it is a subject, so it's referenced as the subject noun. So we're going to start our first 2 sentences up here on the board. Find my marker. Okay, so you'll see that the first sentence listed there is kittens played. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is identify that subject noun. And subjects are nouns. They always answer to the question of who or what. So you're going to read this, the class or your student would read the whole sentence, kittens played, and depending on if it's a person or animal thing, you would ask who or what. So we're going to say, what played? So you're always going to use that verb or that predicate part of the sentence to find out the answer. Kittens played. Who played, or excuse me, what played? Kittens, subject noun. And then the verb question is, what is being said about? So we say, what is being said about kittens? Kittens played, verb. Now it's important to say what is being said about instead of saying, what did the kittens do? Because later, when the student learns linking verbs, and they had a sentence like, kittens are cute, you can't say, what did the kittens do? And then they say kittens are, and it doesn't make any sense. So if we always use the question, what is being said about, it works for either action verbs like this or linking verbs such as are. Okay, so that is a simple classification of a 2-word sentence. Let's try that again with the next sentence listed on page 9, girl ran. So we say the sentence together, girl ran. This time it's a person, so we're going to say who ran. Girl, subject noun. What is being said about girl? Girl ran, verb. So the students had the opportunity to practice that very simple skill quite a few times of just the subject and the verb of the sentence. Okay, then if you look down to the page 9, or the lower part of page 9, it says introducing the adjective, adverb, and article adjective. Okay, this is where the jingles really start to come in handy. Because when we just recited or we listened to the adverb jingle, so let's flip back there for one moment. So we need to go back to the adverb jingle on page 5, and let's just look at the first 2 lines of that adverb jingle. It says an adverb modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb. An adverb asks how, when, where. Okay, so that would be an important thing to review before trying to attempt this sentence. And also the adjective jingle will be reviewed as well, but we're going to start with just remembering that adverb jingle. So we can see that kittens played is contained in this sentence. So we're going to read the entire sentence together. The small kittens played happily. What played happily? Kittens, subject noun. What is being said about kittens? Kittens played, verb. Now, the general direction that you go with the question and answer flow is to the right. So you identify your subject, your verb, and then you keep going this way. So we're going to look to see if perhaps this word is an adverb, because if you have a verb and there's a word next to it, more times than not it's an adverb, but you have to prove that by asking the question and having it make sense. So the questions that we just learned from that adverb jingle are how, when, where. So we'll try one out. Kittens played. Played how? Happily. Makes sense. If we said played where, it wouldn't make sense, or played when, that wouldn't make sense, but played how makes sense. So we know that this word is modifying or somehow influencing the word played. Played how, happily, adverb. Okay, so now that you have labeled everything that was happening past that subject and verb, you come back to the front of the sentence and the students start to learn that a word sitting in front of that subject is most likely an adjective, but they need to test it out. So they go to their adjective jingle, so that would be back there on page 5 again, and the first 2 lines remind us an adjective modifies a noun or pronoun. An adjective asks what kind, which one, how many. So we come over here to kittens and we use one of those questions, and we could say what kind of kittens? Small. You could probably say which kittens as well, and that would work just fine for this one. Sometimes the which one and the what kind work easily in either direction. So what kind of kittens? Small, adjective. Now, there are a few words in the sentences that don't have a question. You just look at them and recognize them, and this is one of them. Okay, so if you will look at the jingle with me on page 7, the very bottom, jingle 5A, the article adjective. I'm going to show you how that goes. It would also be on your CD. Okay, I like to put a lot of fun into this one because the students respond to that. This is a jingle that you mostly just do with the 3rd and maybe the 4th graders. We are the article adjectives, teeny tiny adjectives, a and the, a and the. We are called article adjectives and noun markers. We are memorized and used every day. So if you spot us, you can mark us with the label A. We are the article adjectives, teeny tiny adjectives, a and the, a and the. So we recognize that one of those 3 words is here, and we just look at it and label it. So we've labeled small, what kind of kitten? Small, adjective, the, article adjective. Okay, so that sentence has been classified to the point where we've learned so far. There are more parts to add, which we will go back and do, but we're going to try the next sentence. The frightened girl ran away. Who ran away? Girl, subject noun. What is being said about girl? Girl ran, verb. Now, just like we noticed up here, we're going to kind of suspect that it's an adverb, but we have to test it out. So the adverb questions are how, when, where. So if we do ran how, that doesn't make sense. Ran when, that doesn't make sense. Ran where, that makes sense. Away. So ran where, away. Okay, we go back in front of girl, and we're suspecting that it's an adjective, so we're testing that out. What kind of girl? The adjective questions are what kind, which one, how many. What kind of girl? Frightened, adjective. The, article adjective. Okay, so that one's done to the point that we've learned so far. One more to practice. The large ship sailed away. What sailed away? Ship, subject noun. What is being said about ship? Ship sailed, verb. Sailed where, away, adverb. What kind of ship? Large, adjective. The, article adjective. So those are the sentences that you see listed on page 9. There is one more. The 2 firemen worked yesterday is on there, and you can see that we did that, but there are parts that were added to it that we just didn't do. So that's what we're going to learn next. So if you turn to page 10, you're going to have instruction on how to add a little bit more to your question and answer flow. Okay, so the first thing that is added is they have a blank in front of each sentence. Okay? And that blank requires that you write something there, and that would be a pattern. So I referenced before that there are patterns, sentence patterns, and then pattern 1 is your subject, noun, verb, with other modifiers mixed in, but that's the basic pattern. So the way the question and answer flow goes now is, I'm going to go ahead and reclassify this. The small kittens played happily. What played happily? Kittens, subject, noun. What is being said about kittens? Kittens played, verb. Played how? Happily, adverb. What kind of kittens? Small, adjective, the, article, adjective, subject, noun, verb, pattern 1, check. Period, statement, declarative sentence, go back to the verb, divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. So the first thing that they learn is that I have to label the pattern, and for a very long time, they're just going to write subject, noun, verb, pattern 1, because they're going to be doing pattern 1 for months. So they'll get very used to doing that, and that just means that this particular sentence, the main structure is subject, noun, and verb, and anything else is just modifying those words. So that's the main pattern. It's the pattern 1. And the little word check is added because in just a short time they're going to learn that they're checking for something, and we'll go over that in just a moment. So pattern 1, check. Then you jump to the end of the sentence and you label the sentence type. There's 3 things to say: period, statement, declarative sentence. So that happens next. It might not be declarative, it might be a different kind, but that's a declarative sentence. And then as soon as you say that, you say go back to the verb, divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. The complete subject is everything from the subject in front of it, and the complete predicate is everything from the verb back, usually. There are some exceptions to that, but they will learn that basic rule to begin, and they'll learn the exceptions later. Okay, so let's try that same adding on with sentence 5. The frightened girl ran away. Who ran away? Girl, subject, noun. What is being said about girl? Girl ran, verb. Ran where? Away, adverb. What kind of girl? Frightened, adjective. The, article, adjective. Subject, noun, verb, pattern 1, check. Exclamation point, strong feeling, exclamatory sentence. Go back to the verb, divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. Now, your grammar reference pages that I mentioned that are in the back of the student workbook will explain all these types of things. It'll explain all these endings, what you say, and so forth, and so does the parent workbook. So you will be able to look that up and make sure you know what the words are to use for those end marks. Okay, one more. The large ship sailed away. What sailed away? Ship, subject, noun. What is being said about ship? Ship sailed. Verb, sailed where? Away, adverb. What kind of ship? Large, adjective. The, article, adjective. Subject, noun, verb, pattern 1, check. Period statement, declarative sentence, go back to the verb, divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. Okay, so that is pretty much the entire question and answer flow for at least those numbers of parts of speech. And you can see that we have been able to use our D for declarative, we used E for exclamatory. Interrogative would be a question, and that would be question mark, question, interrogative sentence. That's what would go in the end. Imperative would be period, command, imperative sentence. We've used our SN label, our V label, our ADJ label, our ADV label, our article adjective label, and we're going to learn 2 more today before we conclude. Move on to sentence 7. Sentence 7 contains a new concept, the preposition and prepositional phrase. So we're going to take a look at a jingle first before we tackle that sentence. Please turn to page 6 in your parent help booklet. The jingle, the preposition jingle is in the top left corner. It goes like this. A preposition is a special group of words that connects a noun, or a pronoun to the rest of the sentence. And then jingle 7, the object of the preposition jingle, is needed as well. It goes like this. Dum-de-dum-dum. An OP is an N-O-U-N or a P-R-O after the P-R-E-P in an S-E-N-T-E-N-C-E. Dum-de-dum-dum-dun. So that, all the spelling of that is a lot of fun, but it's really important that the students understand what is being said in there. So I will always read it with them, and it would go, an object of the preposition is a noun or pronoun after the preposition in a sentence. So we make sure that that is clear to them, not just the spelling, which is fun. And then finally, we have the granddaddy of all jingles, jingle 8, the preposition flow. And you can see that it's a listing of 49 prepositions. And the students actually really find great satisfaction in mastering this and being able to say that they feel so proud of themselves, and they all do an excellent job with that. So memorizing them is important because there isn't a question to find a preposition in the sentence. They just have to look at it and say, oh, that's a preposition. And that's why the jingle is so helpful, because the words become ingrained in their memory. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that on the board. We're going to be finding prepositions and object of the prepositions in this sentence. Okay, so we start off with our classifying, saying the whole sentence together. Several math books fell on the floor yesterday. What fell on the floor yesterday? Books. Subject, noun. What is being said about books? Books fell. Verb. Now we get to our prepositional phrase, and we find out that the students are kind of used to seeing an adverb there, so they're going to get stuck, and the teacher has to kind of lead them in saying, look, a preposition. We are just going to put a P right there. On, preposition, on what? That's the question. What or whom always follows the preposition. On what floor? Object of the preposition. And then you always do the words in the middle. The article adjective. If there had been a word such as dirty there on the dirty floor, we would then classify dirty and say what kind of floor, dirty, adjective. Okay, so we're going to move over here to this word. And at this point, sometimes they're kind of like, I don't know what to do, but we remember that a lot of times after your verb, you're going to find an adverb, so we're going to check it out. Fell, who fell, how? No. Fell where? No. Fell when? Yes, yesterday. Adverb. Fell when? Yesterday, adverb. Come back to the beginning. What kind of books? Math, adjective. Now, they're often used to there being an article here, and there's not an article this time. There's another word. Could it have anything to do with books? Maybe. What kind of books? No. Which books? Not really. How about how many books? Those are the three adjective questions. How many books? Several, adjective. And then we come here to our pattern, subject, noun, verb, pattern, one, check. Now this is where the check is very important, because the check means you're looking for a prepositional phrase. So now they know what the check means, and they're ready to apply it. So when they find one, oh, I have a prepositional phrase, so then we say prepositional phrase, then we come down here and finish. Period, statement, declarative sentence, go back to the verb, divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. So the prepositional phrases have parentheses put around them, and that's what the check is for. Okay, so that is basically enough to get you a good start. Let me show you that in your student workbook, the first page that they will come to will be a very simple page that has a section at the top with just two-word sentences. And then the next section down will have sentences kind of like this without the blank, just like we did. And then they'll have the exact same sentences again with the blank. So it's kind of the same thing that I just did with you will be how your students will get started. And they will come home and be ready to do that. Now please keep in mind that these workbooks have the word test on every worksheet. Unit 1 in all of the workbooks corresponds with pattern 1. Okay, and they divided it up into like Unit 1, Group 1A, Unit 1, Group 1B. But they also put the word test on the end, and I want you to just realize it's not a test in the sense of how we think of a test. For some reason, Brenda Shurley, the author, decided that she wanted the students to feel like they were being quizzed on everything that they're learning. And so she called every page in here a test. But you can just look at them as workbook pages. That's how we look at them. There's no need for telling them, oh, it's a test, I can't help you. Please help them, because there's so much repetition in this program that you can help and they will still learn it, because they're going to keep practicing the same thing over and over again in a cyclical pattern. So there's no reason to look at it like a test. The tutors talk to them about that. Sometimes they do in class treat some sections of the worksheets like tests, and they will have the students do it without looking it up and just see if they're applying it well. But for the most part, you can look at them like worksheets. You can help them because they will keep repeating the information over and over again. Okay, so, and also it's important to know that on your CD, right after the little intro blurb, the first groups of all of the sentences in your workbook are actually classified for you. So in the level 4 workbook, the Group B sentences. So I've scanned and sent you a file of the Level 4 Group B sentence page, okay? Now, it is a answer key, so it has all the labels on it. The students don't have the labels on them, but the answer key does. But I'm going to let you see that you will be able to listen to the tape for some of the beginning pages in each new concept section. So, for example, Unit 1, Group 1A sentences are on here, Group 2A are on here, Group 3A, Group 4A, and Group 5A, because they have a new concept in them each time. Then we don't have any more classified on the tape until Group 2, or Unit 2, excuse me, and then Unit 3, and then Unit 4, because that's where a more difficult advanced concept comes in, and you're allowed to listen to the, practice the sentences with your child. So, as an example, if we turn on CD to track 2 and play it, we'll hear, if you look at your Unit 1 Group B worksheet that I sent to you, you'll hear these sentences classified.
Welcome to the Shurley method for Level 4. This recording contains the question and answer flows only for the groups of sentences that are used to introduce each new grammar concept. This recording also contains the Shurley method jingles for Level 4. Now we will begin the Level 4 question and answer flows for Unit 1.
Okay, then she goes on to the first group.
Unit 1, Group B, beginning practice sentences. Sentence 1, candles burned. What burned? Candles, subject, noun. What is being said about candles? Candles burned, verb. Sentence 2, children shouted. Who shouted? Children, subject, noun. What is being said about children? Children shouted, verb.
Okay, and then she will continue to do that through the entire page. That will again happen for Group 1A sentences, just the classification section. You'll notice that there are other skills on the page as well, but they are more standard grammar skills that aren't as unique as this question and answer flow. So hopefully that you'll find that your CD at home will help you not only with the jingles, but with some of the early worksheets that you have to help even your child will benefit from listening to the person classify them, and they can write the labels over top of the words. Okay, now we're going to look at page 4 for a minute for our last concept, the practice and improve sentence. The page starts with sentence building, but that's the idea, is that you're writing a sentence and then you're improving it. So if we just look at that page, we could see that the student at first will have the labels listed for them across the top of the page. So they will see A, ADJ, ADJ, SN, V, and so forth. And then they have to put a word under those labels. So they chose to do the skinny little biker rode along peacefully. Now, they should not work it from the left to the right. They should just do what they do in the question and answer flow, which is to find that subject first. So they have to think of a noun, person or thing, and put that down first. So they think of biker, and then they ask themselves the question, what is being said about biker? And they think of the word that they want to use for the verb, biker rode. Then they come to an adverb, and they go, I have to ask an adverb question. So they say biker rode how, when, where. It looks like this student chose how, where, along, and then they had to ask another adverb question. Rode how, peacefully. They came back in front of the subject and asked themselves an adjective question. What kind of biker? Short. They asked themselves another adjective question. Could be the same question. What kind of biker? Skinny. And then article adjective, they have to pick a, and, or the, and plug it in. Then the improved sentence, the worksheet will tell them to do usually it's one antonym change, 2 synonym changes, and 1 complete word change. So the antonym is usually the hardest, and it's sometimes hard to even come up with because not every word has an antonym. So the student chose plump as the antonym for skinny, and then they picked 2 other words that have synonyms. They chose short for little, and they chose pedaled for road. And then they took 1 word and just changed it into neither a synonym nor an antonym, and they changed peacefully to rapidly. So then they plug the same words back in, and they have their improved sentence, and that is how you do a practiced and improved sentence. Okay, so finally I want to conclude by encouraging you to go visit your child's grammar classroom, and the tutors are very happy to have you come in and observe, because that will also help you to pick up on this. You'll be able to see your child participating in class, and so it's a really great thing to do, to join your students in class from time to time to learn with them. If you have any further questions, please contact me at your leisure, and I have been happy to join you today. Thank you.